How you doing, everybody? My name is Justin, and I want to take a moment to talk about depersonalization, derealization. I'm going to briefly discuss my story, and then I'm going to discuss some tips that I have developed, methods I've developed over the years, and how to dramatically decrease symptoms and even eliminate some of the symptoms. I've had depersonalization disorder for about 10 years. So I'm going to briefly discuss my story. I would like to say that it started as a young adult when I smoked pot, but in all reality, it happened much earlier than that. As a child, I was a very deep thinker. I always thought outside of the box. I was very philosophical, and I recall even at the age of 7, questioning my existence. Is there a God? Why are we here? What are we doing here? Where are we going to go when we die? Things of that nature. And I would get into these small little mental fogs that at the time I didn't know was depersonalization, but it obviously was. It would only last for about 1 to 5 minutes, but as a kid, you're very resilient and you don't really worry yourself too much about things, so I didn't think much of it. Later on in life, I grow to be somewhat successful. I start a music career. I'm writing music, composing music, performing music. I'm on the Warped Tour. I got an album out nationally. I'm doing work on radio shows. I did a little bit of work with MTV, script supervising some of the shows. Everything was going good. I was living the dream. I mean, everything was coming true for me. It was pretty awesome. I was a very lucky person. Then at some point for about an entire year, I started smoking weed. And then one night I smoked weed, and I feel like I get completely detached from everything, everyone. I'm detached of emotion. I don't have the ability to connect to anything. I felt completely alienated. It was a horrifying experience. A lot of panic attacks with it. Thought to myself, all right, I'm just gonna go to bed. I'll wake up tomorrow, everything will be okay. And that wasn't the case. I was locked in my mind. I was a prisoner in my mind. The symptoms that I had do not differ that much from everybody who's on YouTube discussing their symptoms. I felt like life was a movie. My hand in front of my face did not look real. Felt like I was alive, but I was not actually living inside of my body. It was almost as if I was observing my body from outside of my body. I felt like I was crazy. Felt like I was going insane. Understand that when I had this disorder, YouTube had not been developed yet. The internet was not really popular when it came to medical issues. I did not have a name to put to the symptoms that I was having. Eventually, I had to drop out of life. All of this awesome stuff that I accumulated throughout the years just came to a screeching halt. Nobody knew who I was anymore. I was a very popular person, and then I just went to being a complete recluse. So it got to the point to where I felt like I just didn't want to live anymore, so I checked myself into a mental health hospital. Doctor diagnosed me with bipolar disorder, and I was looking at the symptoms of bipolar disorder, and I'm like, this doesn't really match the symptoms that I am experiencing. I don't feel like I have like an actual mental health disorder. It seemed very strange, but regardless, he prescribed me 2 medications, one being Depakote, 2 being Klonopin. When I started taking those medications, my symptoms dramatically decreased. After about a month or 2, I was able to get back on the road to success. I've always been a very success-driven person, so it was important for me to try to get my life back. I didn't go back to music, and I'll explain that a little later. The symptoms, though, terrible, like when I had depersonalization. I'd have to say the panic attacks and the anxiety were the worst of it. But also, not being able to feel connected to the world and just all of that. Such an alienating experience. Nobody understood what I was going through. It was horrible. And I think, for a while, it even maybe caused some post-traumatic stress disorder. I'm not entirely sure. But as of today, I have depersonalization disorder. It comes into my life maybe once every 2 months. It only lasts for like maybe 5 to 10 minutes. I can deal with it. I'm not afraid of it. I'm not burdened by it or annoyed by it. It is what it is. Now I'm going to real quick give some opinions about depersonalization. A lot of people wonder if smoking weed causes depersonalization. Well, I know people who have had depersonalization who've never smoked weed in their lives. I don't think weed causes depersonalization. That's my personal opinion. I think that weed opens the door to depersonalization. If you have a predisposition, perhaps, to depersonalization, then yeah, I think smoking weed is going to open that door. Kind of think of it like schizophrenia. If you're born with the brain chemistry, the predisposition to schizophrenia, and then you drop acid, that's definitely going to open the door for you to having a schizophrenia disorder. So as far as medication goes, I'd have to say I'm not necessarily for it, I'm not necessarily against it. I mean, it's all a matter of trial and error when it comes to depersonalization. The medications that work for me may not work for you. You may go to your doctor and ask for Depakote and Klonopin, and your psychological evaluation may say, well, you need this medicine right here. You know, we all have different genetic makeup, emotional makeup, and psychological makeup. So what I do know is that there are a lot of people on YouTube that discuss how they are getting through depersonalization or how they dealt with it. They're talking about cures and things of that nature. Don't be discouraged if what works for them doesn't work for you, because remember, we're all different. I would definitely say try everything that you can to get rid of it, but don't take everybody's word as gospel, all right? Okay, so I believe that when you have depersonalization, you're having a dramatic imbalance in your life. If you weren't having an imbalance, then you would not be in this state of thought. You would not be in this state of being hyper aware of what is going on in your body. You gotta kind of, basically the song Man in the Mirror by Michael Jackson should relate to you more than it ever has in your entire life. You gotta make some changes, okay? You can say you don't, but you do. Whether it's a chemical imbalance, a life imbalance, something was off balance that caused you to have depersonalization. For me, I later found out that even though I love music and I loved performing, it wasn't what I was meant to do. It created a lot of stress in my life. And I was suffering from chronic stress from being in the music and entertainment business. And it got so bad to the point to where I think I finally smoked weed. It opened a little gateway in my brain and caused me to just have a perpetual thought process that I could not get out of. And I later found out that, you know, I love helping people in critical situations. And in fact, when most people fall into nervousness or anxiety, I excel. Like for instance, if I'm approaching somebody who's strung out on meth and they're very violent, I can do what it takes and be completely there and in the moment to be able to incapacitate them and get them to a safe place. I can respond to a car accident and a dashboard can completely impale somebody, and I can sit there and talk the lady through it and be calm and manage the incident, no problem. Found out that helping people is what my great passion is. Music was a passion, but it wasn't what I was supposed to do in life. And as soon as I found the balance of I like to help people, that's what I like to do with my life, all the stars started connecting. Now, I do find that people with depersonalization, if they're not a musician, they have a deeper than average connection to music, movies, art. That's just a personal observation that I made. I don't know if it has anything to do with, having a predisposition to depersonalization, but I find that they're very connected to art and they're considerably intelligent people. Triggers. Know your triggers, all right? If you haven't found out what your triggers are, find them. For example, triggers for me, too much sunlight in the sky. If the sky's too cloudy, fluorescent lighting in stores, it can cause me to go into a temporary depersonalization state. Treat a trigger like your enemy, okay? You never want to go up to an enemy vulnerable. You want to know your enemy. You want to know how to be able to defeat your enemy, all right? Don't run from your triggers. Be prepared. Figure out how to live with your triggers, figure out how to combat them, figure out how to eliminate them. But the one thing you do not do is run from your triggers or avoid them. You're in a depersonalized state. You're closed in right now. The last thing you want to do is continue to close yourself in. You want to give yourself room for expansion and growth. I know that's hard to say, like, hey, I got depersonalization. You got to go out there and fight it. You got to get tough, okay? And that's another thing we're going to talk about is getting ready for the big fight. Before I start that, I got to say that if you're just now experiencing depersonalization, then I'm pretty sure you've probably watched every video on YouTube about depersonalization, and you've done probably thousands of hours of research on the internet about depersonalization. Now's the time to act, okay? Stop thinking about it. Depersonalization's weird. The more you think about it, the more you perpetuate it in your mind. It's the more you feed depersonalization, the more you think about it, the more you attract it on the inside. Depersonalization is sort of something you have to forget. And that's the hard part about the fight, because it's an intellectual fight. You gotta learn to retrain your mind and get out of that imbalance. For me, I said to myself, I don't want to live with depersonalization anymore. This has been going on for entirely too long. So what I did was I said to myself, I'm going to go out to society. I was afraid to go out to society. When you're depersonalized and you do not feel real and you have panic attacks and anxiety associated with it, it's very difficult to leave the house. It's very difficult to feel normal in front of people. You feel like everybody's judging you. It's a pretty crazy condition. So what I did was I said, I'm going to get out of the house and I'm going to live as if I do not have depersonalization. The idea was to detach myself from depersonalization. So I thought of the place that would overstimulate me the most and dramatically increase my symptoms. What better place than Walmart? Fluorescent lighting, it's crowded, it's noisy. It's a chaotic environment. So I go into Walmart, walk around, and man, I'm freaking out. I still proceed with the mission. I go up and I talk to a customer service representative, and I'm not feeling real, I'm not feeling connected, the anxiety's brewing in my head, but then it eventually got to the point to where the anxiety got so overwhelming I felt like I couldn't walk. I felt like I couldn't even walk straight. I go to an aisle that doesn't have a lot of people in it, and I kind of kneel down, and excuse me, something popped up on my phone. I kind of kneel down and take a couple of breaths, try to get myself back on track, and then I got up and I finished the mission. It's something that you're going to need to do. You're going to need to go out there and learn how to live with depersonalization. The world, now I have all the understanding, empathy, and sympathy for you, but the world does not. The world does not care if you have depersonalization. It's moving on with or without you. You have got to fight. Get out there, learn how to live with this, and do not be afraid to fail. You can't have a good day every day, but you can't be afraid to fail. You may go out there and you may spend all day out in society and feel completely depersonalized, and you may come home and feel completely defeated. Get up tomorrow, do it again. You got to learn to detach yourself from this condition. Again, I'm going to remind you, I'm speaking from personal experience, okay? But that's what I did. I battled it. I faced the fear head on, and it was terrifying. And I know you're thinking to yourself, how do you expect me to do this? I lived through it. I know it. Had it for 10 years. And now when I get depersonalization, it doesn't last very long because I don't attach myself to the thoughts, to the perpetual crap that's going on in my head. I just look at it as it is what it is. So if you're just now having depersonalization, first thing you're going to want to do is stop researching this. Turn this video off. Stop watching other videos. Stop thinking about depersonalization. You need to give yourself a couple of days of rest. Depersonalization brings a lot of worry, anxiety, and panic into your life. It stresses you out, suppresses your immune system. Your body's probably not too healthy right now, so you need to take a few days of rest. Don't think about depersonalization. If you do, think of it as a cold. Think of it as something that's going to go away. Don't let it define you. Don't attach your personality and who you are to depersonalization. That's a big mistake, and that's something you need to start learning. Don't say I have depersonalization. Just don't associate yourself with this. The more you think about it, the more you talk about it, the more you research it, the more you breed it into your life. You gotta forget this issue. So give yourself a couple of days rest and then get out there. All right. Now I know that when I was walking around Walmart, I felt like I was gonna pass out. I felt like I was gonna throw up. I felt like I was gonna die. I was seriously afraid that I was gonna die when I was in Walmart, but I didn't. Nothing happened. I survived. It was all in my head. Now, if you go out there and you actually pass out, then maybe you should go get an MRI and something might really be wrong with your head. But don't be afraid. Get out there and do it. If you fall, you get back up and you keep going. If you're in Walmart and you gotta just sit on the floor for a second because you're too overwhelmed, do it. But then get back up and finish your mission. Do not be afraid to fail. All right. Marijuana. You smoked it, you got depersonalization, or maybe you haven't smoked it at all and you got depersonalization. I'm gonna be very firm with this. You can disagree with me if you want, but that shit's over with. No more marijuana. I mean, that's out of your life now. That's a thing of the past. You don't need marijuana to open your mind. You're a very smart individual. You have put yourself in a state of depersonalization. I think your mind is opened enough. Think of, as we were talking earlier about balance, you're kind of imbalanced right now. If you can get your mind to this state, imagine what the opposite end is. I mean, you can be living in like some sort of blissful heaven. It's amazing what the mind can do to the body and what the mind can do in general. So you also, though, have to be careful on the opposite side of the spectrum, because if you're having too many good things coming, there will inevitably be a big crash. So learning how to balance your life is in my opinion, the best thing to do. Depersonalization, I honestly think that a lot of things happen that caused you to have it. And you got to sit there and think about it. Think about some ways to identify what took place to make this. Some people with depersonalization have very traumatic experiences in their childhood. Some of them just have chronic stress, illnesses, issues that they're not able to deal with. They lack confidence within themselves. They lack self-esteem. They have a lot of issues, a lot of social issues. And this isn't a bad thing. This is something a lot of people experience in life. But figure out all what's going on with you and tweak your life and make some changes and do something new. Go do a yoga class. Even if you have depersonalization, just do something to move your body. Depersonalization just tenses you so much. Tenses your muscular system, brings a lot of stress to your body. So that's what I'm saying. Get rid of the weed. Stop the drinking, stop the bullshit, stop the caffeine. Get yourself healthy. We only live on this earth once. So, do what you can do. Make yourself healthy. Give yourself a good life. You have the capability to do it. Don't surround yourself around dramatic situations. Don't be around dramatic people. If you're in an abusive relationship, find a way out of it. In fact, I can teach you how to get out of it. I got a lot of good resources. And figure out ways to combat it too. Like for instance, sometimes I have to do presentations in front of people. And recently I was doing one about victimization in the school and the workplace. I was having to present this lecture in front of a lot of people. And I know that sometimes when I present a lecture, I might get into a depersonalized state. So what I do is I have a backup presentation for every presentation that I have. So what I do is when I'm getting into a depersonalized state, I do something to divert the attention away from me. Like for instance, when I was doing the presentation on workplace and schoolplace violence, I said something to the effect of, we all know the typical stories of workplace and schoolplace violence, but does anybody have any personal stories they would like to share? Of course somebody's going to raise their hand and want to share their story. That takes the attention off of me. I get a couple of moments to collect myself. I can finish the lecture, and it's a successful lecture. So you need to get back on the road. You have depersonalization. You're probably a person that was born smart. You're born made for success. You need to go out there and take control of your life again. That's what I'm telling you. You fall down, get up. I believe in you. Hold your head up high, okay? Cut the bullshit. Get out there and work with it. If any of you want to ask me questions, I'm here. I'll try to provide some information on how to get in contact with me below. If you want me to do another video about any topic, I'd be happy to do it for you. Before I go, I want to direct your attention to a YouTube user by the name of Raleigh Railfan. That is Raleigh Railfan. I guess when he was young, 13, 14, 15 years old, he did some videos about depersonalization. You got to swallow your pride and kick your ego aside, because I know a lot of older people don't want to hear information from a younger person, but this is classic, priceless information. These were the words that I needed to hear when I was going through depersonalization. A very intelligent person. I think he's 18 years old now, and he's creating these new lectures called Create, Grind, Grow. He just did one recently called Short-Term Gratification versus Long-Term Gratification. This is something that you can apply to your goal setting with defeating your depersonalization. And trust me, I'm 14 years older than this guy, and I'm happy to be a student of his lectures. In fact, the short-term gratification versus long-term gratification is something that I'm going to now implement into my criminal justice endeavors. So go ahead and check out Raleigh Railfan. I promise you it's really good information. He's providing it to you for free. It doesn't matter that he's young. Good information is good information. So keep up the good fight. Hold your head up high, all right? You're going to be okay. You're not crazy. You're not going insane. Your life is very much real. And, you know, if you need to, get in touch with me, or perhaps I'll talk to you soon. See you later.